before we take this text and go, oh, I'm not a scribe or a Pharisee, so I'm going to kind of sit on the sidelines and watch Jesus kind of attack these leaders. Because, the leaders, they're the man. Down with the man, right? Okay, in somebody's world, you're the man, right? We're all the man somewhere. And this comes out in these microcosm of this plays out in our life where we have a value but we don't live it. And maybe as a parent it happened to you when you barked at your child and your child walked away and you broke their spirit and you realize, oh, I was so much my dad right then. I don't want to be that. Or I was the parent and you had this moment of revelation where you weren't acting the way you value and what your true heart wants. And it happens in other ways too. I mean, many of us have adopted the habit of recycling, right? We put our cans in the right thing, and you ever go to on campus? There's 4 things with just pictures. I'm not going to spend 20 minutes deciphering this code, but I care about the environment, so I try. Or we take our grocery bags to the store, right? Because, grocery bags kill turtles, I'm not sure. Straws kill, I don't know, something. But because we care about the environment, and we're being we're doing this. It's good. It's good to care for the environment. But then we get home and we're all alone and we buy something on Amazon and it says, how fast do you want this delivered? Save the environment and have it delivered in 5 days. Or do we go, tomorrow will be great. Tomorrow will be great, right? So we all have this dissonance of this. We have this value, but we don't always live it out. And what I want to point out here in the story arc of chapters 23 through 25 is the way Jesus comes at the scribes and the Pharisees is a rebuke. But it's not because he wants to rebuke them, because he follows it up with an invitation. Let's read what it says in chapter 23 through 28. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you tithe mint and dill and cumin, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law: justice, mercy, faithfulness. Those you ought to have done without neglecting the others. We can still bring our offering and our sacrifice and respond in honor and obedience. But if you're neglecting the weightier things, it's meaningless. And so Jesus' open rebuke like that is pretty harsh. And I can testify sometimes in my life, the only thing that'll get my attention is an open rebuke. Especially when it comes to stuff like, hey, if I'm going on a mission and I've got a plan, I'm a high driver and I have a plan and I've thought about some of the barriers. So if someone comes with objections, I've already thought about them and I'm going to ignore them. Right? I've already planned this out. I already know what the objections are and you're going to come at me. I've already figured it out. But I've been wrong. So sometimes I need an open, public rebuke to get my attention. So in a way, actually, you should look at this as this is an act of love that Jesus is doing to these scribes and Pharisees. He's not condemning them to hell. How do I know? Because look what else. In these verses, he cuts right to their heart, and he's trying to get this religious elite exterior. He's trying to get them to tear it down. Because anything that we put forth outside of our true self is this facade. And Freud talked about this. He said we have this. We have the id, which is our true self, right? We have the id. And then we have our ego, which is the thing that we present out there. And people you can put your ego out there, and that's who you think you want to present yourself to be to the people around you. Right? Scribes and Pharisees, are you listening? Right? We do this. We all do this. But what happens when that person that you're presenting someone expresses honor and love and recognition to that shell that you're presenting, what happens? What happens to the id? What happens to you? You hear the compliment and you go, well, if they knew the real me, they wouldn't think that. Because this isn't the real me. They're loving someone that's pretend. And so that leads us to loneliness and isolation because we're presenting this false self out there, which can get all these accolades. The affirmation and confirmation from our community, from our spouse, from our children, it's designed to trigger these loyalty chemical releases in our brain that build a community. God has designed us to need each other physiologically and chemically. But if we're separating ourselves from that, pretending to be someone, we're never getting that affirmation, that satisfaction. And when we do this with our religiosity, we not only separate ourselves from each other, we separate ourselves from God. And Jesus is saying, enough.